All right, welcome, welcome. This is the WWW, the weekly wellness Wednesday. Wednesday. We want to welcome you guys. I'm Robert here at my office in beautiful Granbury, Texas, with my co-host with the most,
Mr. Jim Rhodes in St. George, Utah, where it's only 107 outside.
Yeah, we don't have you beat today. Some days we had this summer, but not today, thankfully. And actually, our guest tonight is only probably an hour and 20 minutes away from where I'm sitting. So we're proud Texans here. My wife got me here as soon as she could. And we're just happy to be here with you guys. Wherever you're tuning in from, we want to acknowledge the fact that you're doing, Jim and I love to say this and acknowledge this, I'm sure you do too, Lourdes, knowing your heart, is that if you're watching this live or the recording, you're doing what literally 95% of the planet don't do, is show up.
You are showing up, which makes you the VIP in the room. Thank you for tuning in. We hope that what we do share is beneficial for your journey. We have so many wonderful stories of people just doing extraordinary things that it certainly makes my day better and takes away all my excuses.
Well said, Jim. And that being said, just a little promo before we introduce our guest tonight. If you're watching this, Jim and I have been doing this for, oh my goodness, 7-8 months now. And we have an ever-growing library of some beautiful stories of all ages and all backgrounds and journeys and challenges and discoveries and gifts, blessings. So feel free to go to our Facebook page here and tune in the YouTube channel. So we invite you to share these stories and to learn as Jim and I and Heidi we've also learned from all these awesome people. So tonight, I met this guest tonight because of one of my, speaking of VIPs and friends, I introduced this wellness system called Zalevo to a dear friend, Christy Childress, who had a dear friend named Rebecca Frodeman, her and her hubby Paul. And Christy and Brian, had the blessing and the openness to share and the heart of giving. So did Rebecca. And you'll hear more about how Lord is secretly hopped in here and got some of our goodies without even Rebecca's knowledge. That's a fun part of the story in a moment. Before we go there, Rebecca, Lourdes is a beautiful heart-centered lady here. She works in what's called the talent acquisition field. She helps mainly her primary company is Allstate, and they get in there and help individuals. Help me out here, Laura. So be more inclusive and diversified and more equitable in the people that they bring in, and you're a talent scout for Allstate.
Pretty much, yeah. I lead the actual recruiting and sourcers for this demographic that we try to fill seats with.
Fantastic.
Excellent. Yeah, very, very fantastic. And you work from home,
yeah,
thankfully, which is a blessing as well. And your hubby Barnett, he's retired now, you said?
No, he works at the Baylor Scott and White at the Star, so he does security work there.
That's right. Thanks for getting me on track.
He's retired Navy.
That's where I was getting off track. He is a veteran, so please, when you see him again, please tell him how much we honor and respect him and thank him for that.
Big time. We know that they put their life on the line so we can have the kind of life we can enjoy.
Mm-hmm. Very much so. And you have a pretty diverse, as far as age spectrum. You have a 36-year-old son as well as an 18-year-old. Mm-hmm. Okay, and two amazing grandkids. And then Barnett has brought his crew into the family. I'm sure you love and love on all those beautiful little ones and big ones as well. So, and you said that you and Barnett have a beautiful, loving relationship as well. That's beautiful to hear.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Friends first.
There you go.
Everything follows after that.
When you can marry your best friend, that is a good deal all the way around.
What a blessing. Speaking of friends, what brings us all together on this call is a community of people who are on a mission to be a force for good. And if you're new to Zalevo, or if you've been on board for some time, I think you'd appreciate, if you're new, you'll very quickly appreciate the fact that we are a mission-based community, and we're on a mission to be servant leaders and help people step into their highest level of living and vitality, their highest potential. And that was the origin of this company, and that's what we're committed to staying true to as we move forward. And the engine of this whole community are these beautiful wellness formulations that we're talking about tonight. So Lourdes, one of my first questions too is what excites you? What drives you in life? Like what gets you out of bed in the morning? Because you and if you're watching tonight, I did a pre-brief today earlier with Lourdes, and I find her Lourdes, you're very present, you're very centered. You obviously have a big heart. You genuinely care for those around you. You can readily see that in you. So where does that come from?
I would say from my mother, just seeing how, when I was younger, my mom and my dad, they were married for 40 some years before they passed. And during that time, my father, he was diagnosed in the 70s with multiple sclerosis. And we really didn't know anything about that. There wasn't so much information as there is today. And I think my dad probably thought it was a death sentence for him. So he kind of gave up a little bit. But during this time, I watched my mother time and time again care for him, and did everything she could to care for him and for us. Because in the 70s, I was just about 5 or 6 years old. So, and full of energy. So she's running around behind me, trying to keep me out of trouble. And then, making sure she's taking care of my father. I do have 2 older brothers. One of them didn't live in the home anymore, and the other one was probably in middle school or high school already. But nonetheless, she kept us together. I mean, we celebrated. We did so much, as a family unit, and, just everything had to happen at our home. So she entertained a lot of something that I loved to do. And the holidays were great because even though my father may not have been able to participate in his full self, he was still there. We would bring him into the living room in a wheelchair. We would bring him back to his bed. So all of those things we had to work around, and just watching her strength through it all, that is something to admire in itself, because she 100% made sure he was cared for. There was nothing overlooked that I could tell. And even, as an adolescent, you need somebody's shoulder to cry on. I'd be in there crying. And I don't know what my father realized or not. Now I know he knew what was going on because his mind was sound. He just couldn't, move his mouth to say anything or his arms to, reach out to me. But living during that time where you're ignorant and you don't know enough about the illness, it was something. And just watching all of that, puts you in a state of admiration and creates patience. You have to be patient with whomever you come across in life.
Wow. Patience, love. I hear gratitude sprinkled freely in that. So that is so
a role
awesome.
model your mother was.
She sure was.
And what she married her best friend too.
Oh, I'm sure.
Obviously, to tenderly care for someone who can't respond. That is an amazing story already, and put you on a good path, obviously.
Yeah, clearly it's a big part of what your makeup is and how you live life, Lourdes. And that comes through. Speaking of influences, and then kind of fast forward the clock a little bit, in your second chapter of your married life, you found a great man. And that was obvious to Jim and I just a few minutes ago. Jim and myself, I always say Jim and I, it's not like a spaceship, but Jim and myself, we could see you kind of light up when you talked about your life partner. I would love to know, I know on the pre-brief today, first of all, if you're listening tonight, Barnett's his name, and he's a veteran. And what military branch? Lourdes?
He was Navy.
Okay. We have many Navy personnel in our family as well. So want to honor, you mentioned the pre-brief that one of the many gifts that Barnett brought to your life was the awareness of he had developed some habits,
Mm-hmm.
and it was good. It was habits that served him well. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So as many people that come across the military, they're very organized and structured. So it's you get up in the morning, you work out, you have your breakfast, and then you start your duties, right? So in his life, that's what he brings forward. And when I met him, he was very fit. Not that he's not now, but we're older now, right? So he was competing in like weightlifting competitions and things like that to kind of keep up a bulk of muscle.
Mhm.
And he was very active. And I think right around when I was turning 40, I started to get very interested in his, habits. And then I started thinking about let's challenge ourselves. Let's do a 5K. We've never done that. So he helped prepare us, and incrementally, showing me different techniques to get better at it so that I could do a 5K. Because when you never ran before, there's a lot involved that you have to be mindful of to prepare your body. You just don't get up and go, and you could finish it in a nice time, right?
Right.
And then from that, then we did a hustle to Hancock. So we're from Chicago. We've only been in Texas for, it'll be 5 years next year. So, but hustle to Hancock. So that's when you have to run up a ton of flights of stairs. I think it was like some 50 flights of stairs we did that time.
Wow.
And just knowing that he just, his excitement excited me. So it was kind of like that turning point of taking care of myself from, just exercising, doing it regularly. So he started that for me, and I love him for it because now, I'm addicted to Pilates. I love my Pilates. I do it almost 5 days a week whenever I can get in there. And it's just a great way to work your whole body.
Yeah, very much so. And there's obviously a tie into this because you love, in a moment, you'll hear about how you were really drawn to do the 90-day best body as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so, okay, so Barnett was obviously an influence on many levels, and you love him obviously dearly. And then again, he also instilled in you some newer and more empowered habits to move the body. I love that, which led to, I'm assuming, so you met Rebecca through a different endeavor, and then obviously became friends of hers. And then I missed this part of the pre-brief earlier. So I'm assuming did you see some stuff she was doing online? How did you even know that she had initially a great full spectrum shake? How did you even know about that?
So it's funny because, we have friends in common. So they would talk to me and say, hey, have you checked out Rebecca's website and stuff like that? And I was like, no, I haven't, but then eventually, you get there, right? And then I looked at everything and I was like, wow, this is a lot of stuff. And I, at the time when I first started this, I was just interested in replacing my protein powder because I knew that what I was taking was not clean. And it just, it was just there. And I knew I needed protein. So I was just taking it, not really going too far into what I was doing to my body. So unbeknownst to poor Rebecca, I went out there and I said, one day I just was looking at my phone and I said, I'm just going to order this. She sent me a link. So I'm just going to go in there and just order the protein because that's what I needed at the time. And then, like, I guess a few days later, she saw on her dashboard that I had ordered. So she reaches back out to me. She's like, you stinker, you snuck up on me. What is going on? Let's have a conversation. So then we started talking about it. And at that point, I think she had already lost a lot of weight. Like it was very apparent. And, and I, comment and you notice, right? Because I notice everything just about, so I'm told. So, so we started talking about what she was doing. How did she lose the weight? And then she was telling me about the full breadth of products and that, at my time, how I wanted to introduce things to help me better my lifestyle. And then we talked about the 90-day challenge. And we also talked about, I was going on a trip soon. So I was like, timing was everything. It just all happened at the right point where I needed it. So then when we talked about the 90-day challenge, she was like, well, you have to order so much in product and stuff. And I acknowledged, I read that and stuff, and I understood it, and I was already there. So I was like, okay, that's not a problem. But then I started to think about, how do I pay for this without paying for it? And we could get to that soon.
Yeah, we can. And for those watching, just to kind of to pause a moment, because we have newbies as well as veterans on watching this. So if you're a newbie, then the 90-day Best Body Challenge is a company-sponsored challenge, and it's free to join. And that's before I explain it. So what really drew you, what attracted you most to that Best Body Challenge, Lourdes?
I think it was the accountability and knowing that there's results to come. If you stay consistent, you stay accountable, you're going to see something change. It may be incremental, it may be big, you know, everybody is different, right? So, and it's about what you're doing on the side, because it's not just you take the supplements and bam, you're going to lose weight, right? You have to eat right. You still have to be active. It's a full, you know, lifestyle. So just understanding that and being able to do it at your pace, because not everybody's going to jump all in like I did. Some people will take a little bit more time, but if you're interested in, you know, being a healthier you, and I say from the inside out, because at this point, that's really where I want everything to be very good and well-oiled and, you know, just healthy.
But yeah. And doesn't it show, Jim? Doesn't Lourdes have this healthy glow about her? She's
yes, she does. And
Thank you,
she
guys.
nailed it when she said, when you're all in, it becomes a lifestyle. Because too many people try the fasting, the dieting, I guess is the right word I want to say here. And they get results because they lower their calories and they work out harder and do something. But as soon as they go back to old habits and old foods that put them in the fix in the first place, it all comes back, and often it brings friends with it. And so you're worse off afterwards than you were when you started. This becomes a lifestyle that is sustainable. That's the secret, because the products work and they do satiate. So you're not looking and craving all of the carbs, all of the foods that are not that healthy for you. You're satisfied. And if you're still hungry and you're about to go to bed and you're saying, instead of that, you know, dish of ice cream, I'm going to have a milkshake, which it tastes like one. I mean, my grandkids come and say, would you please make me a vanilla one? Can I have a chocolate one? You know, I like these, Grandpa. And I go, I like it that you like them. And, you know, you're 5 years old. So they're delicious when they're made. And all of those things and the ease of it becomes a livable lifestyle that's sustainable, so that when you hit your mark, you can do maintenance from that point on. Replace one of your good meals during the day with one of these Ultra 30 shakes that has 100% of all the nutrients the body needs to maintain its best health.
Yeah, well said, Jim. And Lourdes, I'm assuming, so you just started with the shakes and like a shake a day to start your day. Did you see a couple of like what compelled you to take the next step with some of the other formulations?
So just again, I had gone to the doctor, as we all do annually, and the numbers were not looking great. And one of the things that was kind of worrying me was the insulin resistance, and where I was according to the doctors with those numbers. And, you know, up till now, I mean, I've been blessed, you know, I'm healthy. I don't have, you know, diabetes or heart condition or any of that. So, and I want to stay there. I don't want any of that. So that was one of the big drivers to figure out what of the spectrum of the products can I be taking to help me ensure that I, you know, make better choices, and, you know, that's going to be pushed further and further away from me.
Yeah.
And just recently I went again for my annual, and my numbers improved. I mean, the doctor was like, they're not like rocket stars, you know, improvement, but they're better than they were last year. So whatever you're doing, you need to keep doing. Everybody wants to hear that, because it just means one more step away from what's predetermined, right? So So for me, that was like, okay, I need to try different things of these products because I do want my numbers to change. Again, it wasn't like I was doing this for massive weight loss. I'm doing this because I want to have a better life moving forward. You know, as I get older, I want to be healthier from the inside out. And that's more important than, you know, everything else. Now, everything else is beautiful because I look good, I feel good, I have energy, mental clarity. Oh my gosh, that there was the big winner. So, and I attribute that to the fortitude. Yeah. Fortitude 85. That is my magic. You know, everybody has something that they love of the products, right? But for me, I would say the fortitude is one thing I don't do without. I make sure I have that always on hand. And, you know, and it's replaced other things that I was taking. So it was easy to push things out and then introduce more of the Zalevo things. Same thing with the eVive. You know, I was drinking a lot of those little packets that come in the same sleeve as the eVive to get energy to go work out or to replenish, you know, the muscles that I've just used to kind of give it back the energy that it needs and the cells and all of that. And come to find out, they just don't line up to what's in our eVive. So little by little, I, you know, again, started with all the products. I take the Biomes, the collagen, as that was introduced. That was a funny one because I didn't believe really I needed collagen because of the external, right? But then when I started to read what it does to muscles and tendons and cartilage, you know, like I was like, okay, I'm gonna take it. So I have my trio every morning.
I love it. If you're watching that, that's a good point. That's kind of coined in the field. Actually, Kirsty, even our director of product development, loves the term, but the trio is that it's a mix of it. It tastes great, by the way. It's a little beverage of the collagen and the eVibe. And then we even put some of the burn mode. The burn mode is incredible antioxidant, mineral cleanser. It takes away cravings. It's an incredible supplement, not just for the fasting days. Anyway, so you love your trio. Jim and I love our trio too. So
at it today.
Yeah, we can all relate. So obviously you started with something simple that you were kind of replaced what you're already doing. And the more you did a little due diligence and research, and then, and that on one other note, as we kind of wind this conversation down tonight, the other catalyst had to be Miss Rebecca. You saw her win a free trip and you saw her Best Body Challenge results, and my goodness.
She's a saint. I mean, she's just a wonderful human being. She gives all of herself to whomever will take, you know. So I you know, I've been blessed to have her as a friend and also as a mentor, you know, throughout this Zalevo journey that I'm on with her. And I will say that she puts a lot of passion into ensuring that we're good as, you know, people that are working together. I mean, we just work side to side, you know, and all of my victories are her victories and her victories are mine because we just, that sisterly connection, it's there. And again, I'm just blessed to be able to know her and to share with her. And, you know, like last night when I spoke with you about doing this, who did I call first? I called her. You know, so yeah, she's just a wonderful inspiration to anybody who has the time to get to know her.
Wow, well said. And Jim and I agree. She's a sweetheart. So, and speaking of that, with your permission, let me just kind of honor those that are showing up tonight live. So Diane Johns, so excited. Lourdes, you're awesome. Barbara, looking forward to the story. Diane Johns, who's also a beautiful lady, she said, "You look fantastic, by the way," which you do. Rebecca said she's a sneaky one when you talked about your shake earlier. So that was pretty funny. Carol said, "Hello. You don't look old enough to have a 36-year-old. Yeah, I agree with that, Barb. Zalevo has the cleanest protein. Thanks, Julie. Rebecca, she's rocking the 90-day challenge. Yes, love your story. And yeah, Richard Zahn. Thanks everybody for plugging in live tonight. And then, and Lourdes, it'd be fun to close with this note too. Early on, you saw quickly that you wanted to, raw and real, you wanted to say, I'm using a lot of products. How can I get some of these free? So I know this is a wellness focused call, but you want to spend 1 minute on that real quick?
Yeah. So as soon as, obviously I see what I'm buying and stuff, and I know it's commission based. So I'm like, Rebecca, how much commission do you make? And is it going to pay for all of my product? And she was like, well, it certainly could. And, she explained some of the commission stuff. And I said, yeah, I talked to my husband about this and he thinks it's a good idea. So let's do it.
I love it.
My poor husband, he's like, every idea I come up with, hey, I kind of want to do this. Do you think it'd be okay? And, whatever. And he gets excited, just me being excited. Well, about what I'm doing. And, like I tell Rebecca and I tell Christy, it's one person at a time. I do, my best to spread the word, but when I'm talking and engaging with one person, I focus on that person and we see where we go, meet them where they need to be met, because I feel like that's what Rebecca did for me. She met me where I wanted her to meet me. And then we went from there.
I love that. Yeah. Thank you, Rebecca. And she says, what did Rebecca say here? I love you, sissy. Yeah, you guys are fun. And hey, Jill, love you too. So is there something, anybody watching this, either live or the recording, is there a thought or maybe a share or even something you've learned that you, through this experience with Zalevo, that you really want them to really get?
I think you need really to meet people where they need to be met. We all have goals, everybody, whether you're doing this for, to make money or just to share the goodness with your friends, whatever your purpose or reason behind it is, you just can't, you have to meet them where they want to be met. And I say that because you want these people to change their lives like you're doing and to, live long, live happy, live healthy, and that's something more than just, hey, I'm doing this, why don't you try this conversation? It's more in depth than that. The one thing I find is that it is very interesting. I do hear a lot about medical stuff and I tell them up front, I don't know anything about that, but what I can do, we have connections all the way up to our lab director when we need to you guys when we need to be on a call and just ask questions. They're there, they can answer the questions. Having that is something that nobody else has. I mean, you could go around and buy things. You don't have this type of support normally. And, some of what I work on in my day job has to do with sales, production, and things like that, but that's very different. And the support is just not there. It's not the same. Yeah. This is more intimate, I would say.
Yeah, it's more of a community. It's a family of people who share a mission, and a love for others. So, and Rebecca, you're a beautiful part of this community. Thank you for being part of our Zalevo family. And for when I reached out, you didn't even hesitate. Yeah, I meant, what is it? Yeah, man, that's fine. It's like, okay.
We love that.
I know we do. Others we have to kind of pull and, kind of romance a little bit, but it didn't take much of that to get you on board. So, and that's a reflection of your spirit, and that was instilled so many years ago by your beautiful, parents. So, just continued blessings to you. Keep sharing your story and keep shining. You're just a beautiful light. Thank you for that. Jim, some closing thoughts.
Well, one of the things, yes, thank you so much, Lourdes. This is an amazing story that you've shared. And for people out there who are listening to this, they need to know there's actually only about 7 products that this company has. It's meal replacements, it's the biomes for the gut health, and it's a few other things that are all synergistic that really, really make a difference. And these products prove out themselves. So you don't have to be afraid to share it with the people you love most, because all they have to do to see if it does work is put it in their body.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And when the real deal, which is what this is, of loaded with super nutrition and with a delivery system to take it in, and a way to give the body the building blocks it needs at the right time and the right place, all at the same time, the results show in your energy, your mental clarity that you mentioned. I think of all the things that I appreciate most is the very one you hit on. It is so fun to be 74, walk into a room and remember why I walked in. I know that gets old when people hear it, but it's so true, because I want to be mentally there for my loved ones, particularly, and outrun my grandkids even in that 5K. So thank you so much for sharing. But the proof of the pudding in this case is put the products to the test. Just put them in your mouth. Let them do what they do, and you'll know, just like we all do. It shows up.
Very true, Jim. And again, Lourdes, thank you for being here. And we always do our force for good. If you're watching this, we have 12 core values in our company. The company's built on these core values, and they're timeless principles. One of our favorite ones is force for good. So we're going to do a 1, 2, 3, and just put it out there, guys. So 1, 2, 3. Force for good. Love you guys.
And good for you.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Lourdes.
Thank you so very much. And thank you, everybody, for being on board with us. And hopefully you gleaned what she shared, because there were lots of nuggets to hear tonight.
Yeah. If you're watching this live, thanks for being on here. Other recording. God bless. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.